I thought TikTok was exaggerating until I binged the first 2 seasons of Alaskan Bush People and realized I was not prepared for what I saw. Here's why I'm officially hooked and why you might be too. While I'm usually pretty busy watching new shows and movies, the 2025 TV schedule has slowed down in November, with many shows on break and set to return in the new year. It has given me time to check out shows I'd missed out on or check out things I wouldn't have otherwise. And by some strange twist of my TikTok algorithm, I've ended up watching Alaskan Bush People with my Netflix subscription. It all started with a few clips on my TikTok account, and a week later, I've binged through the 2 seasons on the platform and am continuing my watch with my HBO Max subscription. It's a show I never would have dreamed of checking out before now, but I thank the algorithm for sending it my way. What is Alaskan Bush People about? Billy Brown had long dreamed of living off the grid in the Alaskan wilderness, and Alaskan Bush People was his best attempt to achieve that goal with the help of his family. Together with his wife, Amy, and their children, Matt, Bam Bam, Bear, Gabe, Noah, Bird, and Rain, the show centered on their efforts to build Browntown, a community they hoped to slowly but surely establish as they lived out in the country. Living in the Alaskan bush is not easy, and the first 2 seasons of Alaskan Bush People showcase how much work can go into the simplest task. There are also dangers from wild animals, food scarcity, and medical emergencies that can become life-threatening when the nearest doctor is an hours-long boat ride away. Those who tune in will see all of that in the first 2 seasons, and a lot more if they also decide to press on. How I found out about Alaskan Bush People. While more recently I've learned of a number of troubles that have befallen the Brown family in recent years, I first learned about them through TikTok clips of the boys flirting with women, running through the woods like wolves, and punching fish. It intrigued me and was entertaining to watch in short bursts, and the more I watched, the more I wondered how this family could successfully survive in the Alaskan wilderness. The simple answer is that they aren't particularly adept at it. There are many times when I'm shaking my head at a plan that leads to a massive accident that could have been easily avoided had someone taken a beat to think it through. Of course, I'm saying that from my couch in the comfort of my warm home, and it's not like I've ever tried or wanted to live off the grid. I guess the point I'm making is that no one in Alaskan Bush People is an accomplished survivalist with a ton of bushcraft skills. The Brown family likely does a bit better than the average Joe living in the lower 48 states attempting the same things, but I would also wager there are people living in the Alaskan bush who have it figured out much better than they did in the show. Alaskan Bush People's early seasons play out like tragic comedy. While I've gotten to the point where they're more established in later seasons, the first 2 seasons of Alaskan Bush People on Netflix play out like a tragic comedy. It seems like just when something starts to go right for them, something else goes wrong in the worst possible way. Boats sink, posses are rounded up, and bears attack. Just about anything bad that could happen to this family does, to the point I was skeptical about how much of this drama was scripted. I've watched enough 90 Day Fiancé to know there's always some creative editing or prodding to make a moment appear much more dramatic than it actually was. Every reality show has its accusations of being faked, as does Alaskan Bush People. While I can't speak with certainty to the validity of some moments, I would say, as someone who is experienced in watching reality television, that I can feel when a moment was set up by the production to drive a narrative, and the Brown family is undergoing a real struggle. For example, I don't think Bam would intentionally clip the dock and risk damage to their $5,000 ship, not to mention any damage a town would make them pay for the damage. Do I get a bit suspicious when I don't see a family member and bear they're allegedly pursuing in the same camera shot? Absolutely, but I would say this show features more reality than some critics would give it credit for. The drama is constant, sometimes for silly reasons. I think more than anything else, what has me hooked and committed to watching Alaskan Bush People is that the drama in this show is constant. Whether it's getting windows off an old shack or a standoff with a bear at gunpoint, the editing keeps this show chugging along and always gives the feeling that the stakes are high. It may not be worthy of inclusion on the best reality TV shows list because the series has since ended, but damn, I'd consider it one of my favorites I've seen. Again, I'm saying this as someone who never would have dreamed I'd be watching the series prior to this, and may just go down the rabbit hole of checking out other survivalist shows like Alone. I have seen quite a bit of Naked and Afraid, and while that's also some compelling television, it's not quite my cup of tea. Based on the fact that I like Alaskan Bush People, I'm willing to guess I'm not a huge fan of the nudity. TikTok has never been shy about sending viewers down unexpected rabbit holes, recipes you never cook, hacks you never try, and TV shows you never plan to watch. But sometimes TikTok's algorithm strikes gold and drags you into a world you didn't even know you needed. That's exactly what happened when a wave of clips, edits, commentary videos, and nostalgic throwbacks to Alaskan bush people flooded my feed. What started as casual scrolling turned into a full-blown binge watch of the first two seasons of Discovery Channel's long-running wilderness reality series. And now, after nearly 20 episodes of Brown family chaos, charm, controversy, and survival, I fully understand why TikTok won't let this show go. Even more surprising, I'm not planning to stop watching anytime soon. This is how a single social media algorithm revived interest in a decade-old reality series and reminded viewers why Alaskan bush people became such a television phenomenon in the first place. The renewed love for Alaskan bush people didn't happen by accident. TikTok creators have a habit of resurrecting older shows, whether it's Dance Moms, Sister Wives, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, or 90s sitcom classics. But the Alaskan bush people resurgence is different because the content is genuinely addictive. Survival clips, Bird and Rain Brown edits, Bear Brown shouting, "Extreme!" Ami Brown's soft-spoken wisdom, and Billy's speeches about building a self-sufficient life deep in the Alaskan wilderness are tailor-made for TikTok's short-form storytelling. Season 1 of Alaskan Bush People aired in 2014 and introduced the world to Billy, Ami, and their 7 children, Matt, Bam Bam, Bear, Gabe, Noah, Bird, and Rain, living completely off the grid in the Alaskan wilderness. Everything about Season 1 feels rough, uncertain, and genuinely dangerous. This isn't the polished, larger-than-life Brown family viewers would later meet in the Washington seasons. The early days show a family fighting for survival, figuring things out day by day, and relying on their own wits and each other. By the time most viewers finish the first 2 seasons of Alaskan Dish People, they fall into one of 2 camps. The deeply confused, mildly amused group, who still aren't sure what they watched, or the unexpectedly invested group, who suddenly find themselves caring about this unconventional family far more than they intended. I landed in the second camp, and according to TikTok, so did millions of others. TikTok may have tempted me into the first episodes, but it was the complexity of the Browns, the evolving relationships, and the unpredictable storytelling that kept me watching long after the algorithm stopped pushing the show. This next phase of the binge, Season 2 moving into Season 3 and beyond, reveals why Alaskan bush people has endurance most reality shows can't match. It's not just the scenery, the danger, or the homesteading. It's the long-term evolution of a family trying to define themselves while the world watches. Many reality shows present people as characters frozen in time. Housewives remain housewives, competition contestants remain contestants, reality families remain sitcom-level predictable. But Alaskan bush people is unusual because the characters evolve, sometimes slowly, sometimes dramatically, but always visibly. Viewers who notice this transformation often become loyal fans. Matt Brown. The heart of the early seasons, Matt enters the series as the oldest sibling. Funny, artistic, emotional, impulsive, and desperate to contribute. TikTok often clips his mishaps and his comedic failures, but the full show reveals a much deeper story. His need to prove himself, his constant inventiveness, his social awkwardness, balanced by genuine kindness, his inner conflict, feeling responsible yet misunderstood. Matt's story becomes more heartbreaking in later seasons, but the early episodes set the emotional foundation for why fans feel so protective of him. Bam Bam, the quiet spine of the family. Bam often gets overshadowed by louder siblings online, but his role becomes clearer the more you watch. When the family faces setbacks, supply issues, weather emergencies, legal trouble, it's Bam holding the pieces together. TikTok edits rarely show his leadership, but the series does. Bear, a meme icon for a reason. Bear Brown becomes TikTok's uncontested favorite. His extreme stunts, declarations, and boundless energy make him perfect meme material. But in long-form episodes, Bear's personality reads differently. His optimism keeps the family motivated. His willingness to work hard offsets his silliness. His charm makes the hard days lighter. His emotional moments hit unexpectedly hard. Viewers who binge the show begin seeing Bear as more than comic relief. He's a coping mechanism for the entire family. Bird and Rain, the sisters at the center of the emotional core. Bird and Rain, sharper than she looks, anchor many of the show's most heartfelt scenes. TikTok loves them for their maturity, their loyalty, their emotional honesty, their glow-ups in later seasons. But early episodes highlight their resilience. They grow up fast, and they do so without losing their compassion. Ami and Billy, the parents driving the story. Billy's vision and Ami's strength are the heart of Season 1 and Season 2, but it's during the binge watch that viewers notice something deeper. Their parenting style is unconventional, sometimes controversial, often questioned, but it produces fiercely loyal children. By the time you reach Season 3, you realize the family's identity revolves around balancing Billy's dream with the children's needs. That tension becomes more intense as the seasons continue. Once you finish the first 2 seasons, TikTok has done its job, but the show itself takes over. Storylines become bigger, risks increase, and the family's world expands beyond their Alaskan settlement. Here's what hits viewers next, and why most people who get this far end up watching several more seasons. Ami Brown's cancer diagnosis is one of the most shared topics on TikTok, and one of the emotional turning points that transforms the entire show. But viewers who start with the early seasons quickly realize how shocking this shift must have been at the time. The Browns went from, most reality TV becomes formulaic, Alaskan bush people refuses to. That is why viewers who start rarely stop. The deeper you go, the more unpredictable it becomes. Projects fail constantly. This creates drama, humor, emotional bonding, a sense of progress. Watching them struggle makes their victories feel earned. Family conflicts spike. As the kids grow older, tension rises, dreams differ, personal struggles intensify. These conflicts add realism the early seasons only hint at. The setting changes everything. Alaska and Washington are dramatically different environments. Each brings new challenges, new story arcs, and new emotional tones. Why am I watching Season 6 now? Once you've crossed the threshold, finished Seasons 1 and 2, dipped into the chaotic reality of Season 3, and witnessed the momentum of the later Alaska years, something remarkable happens. You no longer feel like a casual viewer. You become part of a strange but persistent community of people who understand the show's bizarre appeal. This is the phase TikTok doesn't warn you about. The part where Alaskan bush people stops being a background binge and becomes an emotional commitment. The point where the characters stop feeling like reality TV archetypes and start feeling like a family you've somehow become attached to. And once you enter that phase, you understand exactly how the show has lasted so long and why the algorithm is dragging a new generation into its wilderness world. Something shifts when you watch the Browns over hundreds of hours instead of a few viral clips. Their quirks stop being jokes and start being traits. Their struggles stop being plot points and start being stakes. But those flaws make them real. They make their victories and failures feel earned rather than scripted. This is why so many viewers who start the show ironically end up watching it sincerely. Another reason viewers stay invested is that the Browns feel like underdogs in every sense. Whether they're fighting nature, public perception, or their own interpersonal issues, the family is always struggling upward. These pressures turn the show into a multi-layered family saga that eventually becomes more about personal resilience than wilderness survival. Seasoned viewers often say that Alaskan bush people is, at its core, a story about relationships between siblings, parents, partners, and eventually the next generation. Sibling bonds that feel real. The Brown siblings fight, argue, tease, support, and challenge each other in ways that feel more authentic than many reality families. Their relationships are messy but loyal. Bam and Gabe clash constantly but rely on each other. Bear and Matt bond through chaos and creativity. Bird and Wayne share sisterhood moments that are gentle and moving. Noah searches for independence but misses the closeness of his siblings. Romantic arcs add new dimensions. As the kids get older, relationships become major storylines. Noah's courtship and marriage, Gabe's relationship journey, Bear's complicated love story, Bam's private but impactful relationship, Rain and Bird navigating adulthood in their own ways. The parents' love story holds the show together. Billy and Amy's partnership, part romance, part survival team, remains the emotional core. Their shared dream shapes the family's destiny, even after Billy's passing. Viewers who binge the series feel their bond deepen, strain, and ultimately transform into something larger than the show itself. One of the biggest reasons new viewers keep watching is because TikTok frequently shares clips about Billy Brown's death. But binge watchers experience this moment differently. You spent hundreds of hours with him. Billy is the visionary, the narrator, the emotional center, the anchor the family orbits around. His sudden death in 2021 hits viewers hard because it ends the original era of the show. The family's grief feels genuine. The Brown children react with shock, anger, silence, emotional breakdowns. Ami becomes the fragile but determined leader. This phase of the show becomes less about survival and more about healing. The show's identity changes forever. Everything after Billy's passing feels like a new chapter. Some viewers leave at this point, but many stay, wanting closure, wanting to see how a family that spent its life fighting nature now fights grief. It becomes a different kind of wilderness. One of the most surprising elements is how invested viewers become in the younger Brownses, especially Noah and Gabe's children. The show begins with a couple living off the grid. It evolves into a multi-generational saga about legacy. Babies change the tone completely. The arrival of Elijah, Sophie, Raquel, and Bear's children, Gabe's growing family shifts the narrative from survival to continuity. TikTok often shows cute family clips, but the series reveals how transformative these moments really are. The homestead becomes a family village. Instead of simply surviving, the Browns begin building a future for the next generation. Fans who stick with later seasons often say the babies are the reason they kept watching. A new audience emerges. Younger TikTok viewers unexpectedly connect with younger Browns kids. Rain's mental health journey, Bird's health struggles, Noah's engineering projects, Gabe's fatherhood, Bear's emotional evolution. Each new chapter introduces new viewers. It feels like reading a novel with many chapters. No two seasons feel the same. The world expands, characters evolve, themes deepen. The show turns into a book you can't put down. It's a comfort show even when it's chaotic. The Brown family may be unpredictable, but their core dynamic becomes strangely comforting. Watching them struggle, rebuild, and bond becomes a ritual for many fans. TikTok reinforces the experience. After each episode, you search clips, watch commentary, read edits, rewatch emotional moments, join fan discussion. This creates a modern, hybrid viewing experience that keeps new fans invested. Because by this point, it's no longer about TikTok. It's no longer about curiosity. It's about following a story that has lasted over a decade, a story that has grown, faltered, shifted, and endured.